Rob, thank you for joining me. Me and Tina have watched The Sadness, and all we can say is, wow, we absolutely loved it. Great work. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
It went down a storm at Frightfest recently. It's coming up to Grimfest here in the UK. I think this is now my year number 6 of covering Grimfest. Awesome,
Yeah.
beautiful. And I know people are going to love it there. And I know that this is a question, obviously, you've been asked loads and loads of times, but for the sake of our audience that might not know what The Sadness is about, give them an outline of what to expect when they watch it, and they bloody should watch it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of just like the plot, it's about a virus that, turns people into homicidal sex perverts, and essentially that's sort of the backdrop of a young couple who part ways, and like right as this sort of epidemic of depravity and violence begins, and they have to find their way back to each other over the course of the film. And the plot is fairly basic. I wouldn't say that it's like thin. I would just say that it's like bare bones, because I wanted to make something that was like a lot of meat, no fat kind of thing. Like I had horror fans in mind for this one. I really wanted to just sort of cut to the chase and try to deliver all the kind of stuff that fans of maybe films of a bygone decade, you know what I'm saying? Like people who are fans of those kinds of films, like the films of maybe the 80s and 90s, maybe they missed some of those things. So I just wanted to kind of deliver and I like make something that doesn't really feel like a throwback or a retro film, but has kind of the spirit of that kind of filmmaking, the filmmaking of let's say guys like Stuart Gordon, or maybe old Sam Raimi, or maybe even old Peter Jackson. Although I don't think that I've made anything quite as iconic as that, but I definitely gave it my best try.
I don't know about iconic, but you've given me and Tina and many others, I'm sure, a film that lives long in the memory. And one thing that immediately springs to mind, because we've been watching films for a long, long time, and when you've been watching films for any amount of time, there's always certain lines that stick in your head. Go ahead, make my day, I'll be back, all of these. You've given me a line, Rob, that will forever be stuck in there. And the line is, her eyeball juice is still drying on my cock. That'll be in there forever, Rob. So
yeah, well, that was definitely a real spark of inspiration when I came up with that one. I think that we were kind of thinking of that little speech, and it was almost like a writer's room format. Like we had about 5 people just at the office, kind of just trying to think, because we were trying to jazz up some of the dialogue, and we also that particular speech, you may not realize, but that particular speech is not in Chinese. It's in the Taiwanese dialect, and that tends to be the language that is used for vulgarity in Taiwan, for better or for worse. Like when someone wants to like cuss you out, in Taiwan they swear at you in Taiwanese. So it sounds a lot more like vulgar and rude when you use that particular language. And we were just trying to kind of come up with some stuff on the fly with a couple of people who spoke that particular dialect very well, because not everyone in Taiwan does speak that. It's usually like a maybe like a little bit of an older generation that kind of speaks it more. And anyways, yeah, so we kind of were coming up with stuff, but I can definitely take credit for that one.
Yeah, that will never be forgotten, Rob. Definitely. And for people that don't know, you were born and raised in Canada, right? And then you moved to Taiwan.
That's correct.
So how long have you been in Taiwan?
Like I think I'm going on 13 years now.
Wow. Because we were talking before we started recording, and my friend who was born over here in the UK, then emigrated to Canada and lived very close to where you were brought up, and now
Mhm.
he lives in Taiwan as well. Is it a popular destination for Canadians to go over to Taiwan, or is it just pure coincidence?
I think that it used to be like, I think that there, I think that maybe it's not the same today, but I remember at one point it was like just a lot easier in terms of like kind of pack a bag and go, and you can sort of figure things out, and like the visa restrictions are pretty lax. That was the thing with me, was that like I'd have American friends that had to go to Hong Kong, whatever, like every 3 months to do kind of like a visa renewal,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't have to because I was Canadian. So I guess just Taiwan had a particular, like, just at the time, because right now I have like a permanent alien residence card, so that allows me just to, that's essentially the same thing as a green card or something. But back then, when you actually had to kind of maintain a visa, my American friends were always had that on their mind, but I didn't really have to. So I think, yeah, it was definitely more chill for Canadians, at least at one point.
How are you with the language then? Because what was the language barriers? What is it like as, a Canadian in Taiwan making a film?
Yeah, I'd love to come on this show and tell you how fluent I am with Chinese, but the truth is that I'm not. I spend most of my time like animating and stuff, and it doesn't really give me much of like an incentive to really hunker down and like get very good at speaking Chinese. I mean, I have my day-to-day Chinese stuff that I can use to kind of, you know, survive, get food, go to the doctor, go to the bank, get like a motorbike repaired. But as far as like, sitting down and really getting to know someone in Chinese is not really within my ability. And the same thing too with directing a film. Like I definitely needed a bilingual directors unit to kind of help to get that kind of thing to get to get across the things that needed to be gotten across.
Yeah.
And I have just as an aside, I feel like learning a language is a lot like quitting smoking. Like you can't really do it unless there's actually like an immediate concern. Like if you have some sort of like crazy heart palpitation thing that causes you to go to the hospital, or like maybe you have your first child or something, like there's not really any real incentive to quit smoking. It's the same thing with learning a language. It's like it needs to be like, if I don't learn this language, I'm going to starve, or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's the way I see it. And so far I haven't been in any kind of real dire need to get any better, but I kind of want to, because I feel like maybe there's more films to be made in Taiwan, and I'd like to have a little bit more. I'd like to rely a little bit less on people and be able to do more things myself in terms of like filmmaking.
Yeah. Well, how did the sadness come about then? What was the genesis of it all?
I mean, it was all basically because of COVID-19. Essentially, what happened was COVID-19 hit, and Taiwan dealt with it very effectively early on, and then everything was just fine for about a year, maybe a little longer than that, maybe like 12 months, or 14 months or so. And my financer, the guy who I was working for at the time, who would become the financer of the sadness, his name is Jeffrey Huang, and he just had the bright idea of we should do a movie right now, because if we can do it really fast and release it, we won't have any competition from American films, because generally speaking, American films are the only competition. Like, if there's an American film in the theater, that's it. Like that's what people will go see. They're not going to see the local Taiwanese film. So if we have one, if we kind of line it up so that we have one coming out and there's nothing else kind of it's running against, and we're the only ones in the theater, we stand a good chance of making some money. But so that was basically that's why we made The Sadness. And as far as the idea came about, it was just like, well, we should make it about a pandemic, because that's what's on people's minds. And we're looking at sort of what the most popular stuff on Netflix is right now, and it's like, Contagion and like, zombie stuff, and it was just like, okay, should we make something like that? And they said, yeah, sure. And I said, well, can I make it a little bit like different? Can we make it a bit crazier and like try to make it scarier? Maybe like give me a chance to kind of bring a new, well, bring a dose of severity like back into it, like something that'll just kind of bring it to that next level. And he said, yeah, sure, go ahead, try to do that. So I kind of looked to a couple sources of stuff that I thought was pretty cool in sort of the zombie genre, and wrote a script. And then next thing you know, we were making it, and we made the whole thing from the time that pen got put to paper to the time that we released it was about 6 or 7 months. So it was a super, super fast production.
Very, very quick. And again,
Yeah.
you've got people in it, of course, whose inhibitions have gone and they're just going absolutely crazy. When you got to the script writing stage, did you come up with any ideas where you thought, oh no, I can't put that in? Or was it just throw everything that you could think of that was
Well,
in?
there was, I mean, you can, when you're writing stuff, it's just words on a page. It's more about like what you're showing, like an idea, like putting an idea in someone's head is one thing, and then actually rubbing it in their face, rubbing their nose in it is another thing, right? And I mean, for example, the line that you brought up before, I don't want to spoil anything for our viewers, but the line that you brought up before relates to an incident that happens earlier, and you'll note that I could have probably gone a lot more graphic with that than I did, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I didn't because I felt like when you're making a movie, you kind of want the audience to stay on your side. You want them to kind of be kind of rooting for the film, even if it's sort of at a subconscious level, and sort of doing something like that is a good way to kind of make the audience resent the film. And so that's just the way that's my philosophy about sort of filmmaking. It's like you have to kind of you have to make it with the audience in mind, but at the same time, like you don't have to treat the audience like a child, but you definitely have to kind of be be making something sort of in service of the audience, and you don't want them to turn on you. So it's about it's about just sort of riding the fine line between offending, like seriously offending someone, but then also sort of giving them something that maybe they haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And that really is where I was standing. And it's this sort of you have to have this kind of sensitivity to sort of where's the line, which side of the line am I on right now, and trying to make sure that you don't go too far, I guess.
Well, it definitely worked, because we were sat there and we were thinking, he's not going to do that, is he? He's not going to do that. Whoa, he's going to do that. And that was he went there. And it was one of those films that there was just me and Tina sat watching it at home. We got sent the advanced screener from Grimfest.
Right.
There was audible whoops and cheers coming from it, and that's just two of us sat at home, Rob. So you can only imagine what it's going to be like at when it playing festivals. Like I said, it's already played Frightfest. It's going to be playing Grimfest. It's gonna be a definite crowd pleaser.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, Frightfest, it went off great. It went off really well in Paris too, at L'Étrange Festival. It also went off. I got the most laughs that we got from the film. We got at Motel X in Lisbon. So read that whatever way you want to read it. But the Portuguese really they like to laugh, I guess. I don't know, but like or maybe I don't know. Maybe it was like a defensive laughter. No, it wasn't. It was genuine, real laughter at a lot of the stuff, which I liked. I like how there's still people who can kind of take the film in a like sort of take it as sort of just like pulp, or as schlock, because I think that it can be taken that way. But if you want to take it kind of in a more serious way, like you're able to. There's a little bit of a more serious tone than like say something like I don't know. Well, I mean, something like brain dead or dead alive, depending on what part of the world you're from, like the Peter Jackson film. Like that's very obviously meant to be for fun, whereas the sadness, it's like, yeah, maybe this could be taken seriously. Like it's kind of treated pretty seriously, but I don't know, whatever. I'm kind of rambling at this point, but you understand what I'm trying to say.
Oh, exactly. It's got heart as well, because there's a good speech right near the end as well. That got us and we went, oh wow, that's a great way to finish it as well. Again, without spoilers away.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the finale. I think the finale was actually sort of something that I rewrote. Like we kind of greenlit the script, and the script had initially a different ending, but then I kind of had a better idea later on, and the better idea was the idea that you see.
Yeah.
The first idea was more 1 + 1 = 2, kind of like simple, but I think the new ending is a lot more kind of dark and kind of interesting, and kind of makes you think about sort of what the virus means in a broader sense and stuff. And I don't know, I kind of like it.
Yeah, it works perfectly. And again, speaking of working perfectly, the casting, having a middle-aged businessman as one of the main bad guys, as it were, in it is brilliant. We loved it, because very often you'll see like the jock figures are put into that role, and it's good because that character does come up against a jock figure, and the roles are reversed. What was it like when it got to the casting of the film? Because I think his casting is brilliant in it, and he's a character that I think there's certain characters in films where you immediately linked and you love them, even though they're really evil and they're doing horrible things. Right. In a strange sort of way, you're rooting for them because you like them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. That particular actor, his name is Wang Zichang. Wang Zichang, and he just came in. He was actually a friend of one of the producers, this guy invited him to come to the casting, and he came to read for the president actually initially. And because he looked actually like sort of this politician that was sort of popular at the time, and we thought it would be kind of funny, like oh isn't it funny, like this guy, it would be like an alternate Taiwan where like that politician became president, and that would, in terms of the Taiwanese audience, it would kind of it would connect a lot of stuff. But in the end, I just took a look at him and I saw sort of his presence, and I was just like, I think you should try reading for this character. I think that you might like it. It's a bigger part, and I think you might like it more. And I explained to him kind of the motivation of the businessman, like kind of being like a kind of a guy who doesn't fit in and hasn't really been able to get his life together over his whatever, like almost 60 years of life, and he feels very frustrated. And then one day he gets this virus, and it allows him to kind of finally figure out who he is. And he really liked the idea, and he read for the part, and he added sort of this sort of intense like darkness that I didn't really write, or that I didn't write, but that I didn't consider early on. Like I considered it more like he was just sort of like laughing and giggling and jittering, like kind of shaking all the time. But he kind of brought this sort of like stillness to it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's actually way better than what I was thinking. Do that, and then we just went ahead with him, and he was just great. Like, he was a real cheerleader too. Like he believed in the film. Like he really liked the script, really liked the Spartan nature of the script, and how it was like just like a good old fashioned exploitation film. I mean, he was great. A wonderful presence to just have on set. He really like elevated the movie, and helped to kind of like encourage me and give me like confidence in the production as well, because I'm like a first-time director. So it was just nice to have people who have been actors for 20 odd years very much in support of what you're doing,
Yeah, I love his character as well, how you see it from the beginning, just the subtle effects of this virus kicking in, and what he does and what he says, and then it just gets progressively worse with him, and you see his sort of journey as it takes him over. I really enjoyed that as well, because of course there's so many other characters. You know, the virus has gone wild, that you see
Right.
characters who have they're just right in the throes of everything, and they're going completely crazy. But with him, you see it more or less from the beginning, and he starts off just a little bit creepy, and then it just escalates beyond anything you can think of.
The way I see it, it's like he like the he carries the virus the most naturally, like, because it's almost like with him, it's almost like a missing piece of a puzzle. Like it's like this virus is something that he's just sort of been waiting to get infected with his entire life. Like it actually makes him more like himself, you know. Whereas other people, it destroys their lives. For him, it makes him whole. You know, that's the way that I kind of look at it. And that, in fact, is kind of the way that I see the whole film. Like that's sort of what the film is about for me. Like that kind of sort of idea of finding purpose in kind of this extremely nightmarish situation or something. And that maybe that is kind of reflected in the finale to some degree, like the speech given by our main character. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'm very happy with the film. It's so nice to put together a film and to watch it in its entirety, like, you know, the first time, and kind of be like, I think this is good. You know, I think this is working. And then you show it to people, and then you know, maybe the first people you show it to don't really understand what you're doing, and they're kind of like, oh, I don't know. But then finally, like, you get an opportunity to show it to this international audience, and to you and your missus and whatnot, and you guys just having a great time watching it. So it's real nice to see it kind of finding its little niche in the world, you know.
Has this got you going already for the next film?
Oh yeah, I have an idea for another one. I just need to make sure that you know, in the you know, I'm just going to finish the festival run. We're going to try to close a few deals on you know, distribution, like wide release sort of business stuff. And if we can kind of you know, get a few things taken care of, then all of a sudden the sadness becomes a success in the eyes of like the financiers, and
Yeah.
then you know, then we get started on the next one. But yeah, I have an idea for another one. I want to do something that's more of like a monster movie, something that's more about like creatures and sort of, you know, some sort of weird life cycle that's happening, and you know, it probably won't be as like, I mean, the sadness functions on like sort of this intentional cruelty sort of aspect. But this movie that I'm thinking of doing later, it functions more on kind of like this mindless sort of aggression that comes from nature, that doesn't actually have like cruelty or intention in mind. It's just sort of just trying to live, trying to spread, but there's no malice involved. So I'm trying to think about like how to kind of make it scary, because in fact malice is the scariest thing, right? So like intentionally trying to harm someone is the scariest thing for me. Just sort of nature doing its thing is forgivable at the very least, right? So I'm just trying to think about how I can kind of structure this to really make it scary, because I know that everybody who goes to see the next film will want something that's like scary, you know, or at least intense, or whatever. I don't know what the proper adjective is, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm always thinking about the audience is what I'm saying. You know, I don't want to disappoint them next time.
That's it now, because the sadness has gone down so well with audiences. Are you going to feel a bit of pressure because they're going, this was awesome, what's he going to do next? Is that going to add a bit more to you when you go into making your second film? Or how difficult is that to put that to the back of your head when you're going through this creative process, when your first film has gone down so well?
I guess it's just, yeah, I guess, I mean, like, you know, you just have to kind of think of it kind of like, what, like, you know, what's the best idea? I'll never, you know, never, it's important to stick to your guns and to stick to your vision. But if sort of something comes along, and and you get sort of like a I don't know. I'm not really sure how to answer that question. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, yeah, like I'm trying to keep the doors kind of closed, and try not to think too much about what people might want, and kind of creating a movie for like sort of this hypothetical idea of like what people might want to see next. I've had this idea before I even did The Sadness. This is actually an older idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, all I can really do is just make sure that the like, for example, like the execution is just handled as well as possible, because it's there, you know, with this film that I want to do next, it's really important that like we believe that certain things are like certain fantastical things are real. Yeah. And if things look fake, or if things like you have to kind of think, okay, like where can we kind of cut corners, and where do we have to really put in work? Okay, so to answer your question, I'm not even a little bit concerned. Like I know exactly like sort of what I need to do. Yeah. And at the end of the day, like you just have to follow your own kind of intuition about like what's good and what isn't. I mean, I'm as much of a horror fan as anybody else. You know, probably to some degree, I'm more of a horror fan because I actually went out of my way to make my own, right? So, you know, you have to just trust your own taste and trust your own instincts and stuff. But at the same time, you know, I'm looking at critiques of The Sadness, and I'm looking at the places where people have you know, have said things that are, oh, you know, it would be a lot better if this part was this instead, or if, oh, this part goes on for too long. I'm paying attention to those things, and I'm thinking, is that true, or is this person just trying to, you know, act like they're better than the film, you know, because that's really what being a reviewer is. You know, being a reviewer is just sort of this opportunity to talk about yourself, you know, like, you know what I thought this, you know, and it's just like, but at the same time, like there is relevant stuff in there. They oftentimes, like when you get wounded by a review, the reason why you're wounded by it is because you thought the same thing. So again, I guess this is coming roundabout because I'm always open to the good idea. If someone criticizes the work and I agree with it, I'll address that for the next one, you know? So yeah, okay, I'm done talking.
Well, I'm already waiting for a Blu-ray release of this. Being a collector of physical media, I want a Blu-ray of this. So fingers crossed.
You know what? I'll tell you right now that if it goes the way that I believe it goes, I believe it'll be a really nice release that'll have a lot of extra material in it. And when I say extra material, I don't just mean on the Blu-ray itself. I mean like in the package itself. Oh, I have lots of stuff that I want to include, depending on who releases it. I really hope that Raven Banner will do their own release of The Sadness. And I think that might be in the cards, although I can't make any guarantee at this point. But if they do, I've already been talking with them about all this stuff that I want to put into it, and all this work that I'm willing to do just to kind of get all this stuff together, so people have a really nice like comprehensive The Sadness package, you know. So I hope that I can deliver something that'll knock your socks off, you know.
That sounds good. Well, I'll be first in the queue to buy it, Rob. Definitely. I can't wait to watch it again. For the sake of the edit, we'll wrap this up. But again, people are going to watch it at Grimfest. You're in for a great ride. Everybody listening to this or watching the video show, watch The Sadness, buy it when it comes out on Blu-ray as well. Support Rob, and I, for one, and Tina as well. We're waiting for your next film now, Rob. So that's it.
Awesome, man. I appreciate the call and appreciate the time you took to watch the film, and also to ask me all of these interesting questions.
That's right. Hopefully we'll talk again in the future, Rob.
Hope so. Have fun at Grimfest.
We'll do. Oh yeah, it is such a fantastic festival. It's
you know what?
Every year.
Grimfest has really good like trophies. I really hope that I win something there, because they have like really, really awesome little like Grim Reaper like trophies. I'd love one of those. That'd be perfect on my little mantle. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think you stand a good chance for the audience vote, Rob. I really do.
Good.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.